Good evening. A court has heard an elderly woman who was murdered in her own home in the Black Country was hit over the head with a heavy object around 8 times. Cynthia Monk's body was found in the garage of her home in Halesowen in June last year. 33-year-old Leo Barnes is on trial accused of her murder and that of another man in London a day later. He denies the charges, as Stacey Foster reports.
The first witness called by the prosecution today was the Home Office pathologist who examined Cynthia Monk's body shortly after her murder. He said it looked like she'd been hit over the head more than 8 times. She had fractures to her skull and bruising to her head and to her face. When asked if those injuries were consistent with being hit over the head with something like a saucepan, for example, he replied they could have been. Also giving evidence today was a forensic scientist from the Met Police in London who looked at the blood at the scene of the second murder, that of Philip Silverstone at Belsize Park. When asked about the blood stains on Leo Barnes, the defendant's clothing when he was arrested, she said that it matched the DNA profile of Philip Silverstone, but it couldn't be determined whether he was an attacker or was simply just at the scene. And the court also heard from one of Cynthia Monk's daughters, Beverly, who in a statement said that her and her mother were very close, always texting and calling each other. It was very strange on that day, the 27th of June, when she couldn't get in contact with her mother. Her mother had mentioned to her that in his 20s, the defendant Leo Barnes had visited her house on a number of occasions, and more recently, he'd knocked on her door and got back in touch. 33-year-old Leo Barnes from Balsall Heath denies 2 counts of murder. The case here at Wolverhampton Crown Court continues. Stacey Foster, ITV News.
The family of a man with mental health problems who took his own life months after his benefits were cut is asking the government why a decision was made to declare him fit for work. A coroner ruled that a major factor in Tim Salter's death was his state benefits being greatly reduced, leaving him almost destitute. Rajiv Popat reports.
Linda Cooksey is still devastated by the death of her brother Tim Salter, who'd taken his own life in September 2013. Mr. Salter, who was from Stourbridge, was partially sighted and had mental health problems. 9 months before he died, his state benefits were cut after he was declared fit to work.
He hadn't got any money, he hadn't got any food in the house. He did not want to ask for help. He couldn't bring himself to ask for help, and that I know for a fact if he'd still been getting his money, he'd still be alive now.
Mrs. Cooksey believes her brother shouldn't have been assessed as fit for work. She says the Department for Work and Pensions knew that he had attempted to take his own life before and has now asked the government to explain how it came to its decision.
I would like the assessments to be changed so that people with mental health problems are assessed different. Anybody with disabilities, physical disabilities, you can see that there's something wrong, but mental health problems you can't. And I think they needed to be assessed by somebody that knew about mental health problems.
A coroner ruled that a major factor in Mr. Salter's death was that his benefits had been greatly reduced, leaving him almost destitute.
Don't want anybody else to go through this, and I wouldn't like anybody to find their brother, sister, whatever, in the same situation I found Tim. The system's all wrong. It just needs to be reassessed and looked into for people that have been on long-term benefits. His situation hadn't changed at all.
Mrs. Cooksey complained to the Department for Work and Pensions, but her complaint was not upheld. She's now asked the Parliamentary Ombudsman to investigate. Rajiv Popat, ITV News, Stourbridge.
2 men have been jailed for almost 25 years for robbing homes in Wolverhampton. Police have released a video of Donovan Wilson and Aston Davis barging into a house where they ripped a necklace off a woman. In another robbery, a pensioner was left with a fractured jaw when her head hit the side of the stairs during a scuffle. A paramedic banned from Worcestershire NHS Trust hospitals for whistleblowing has had his ban lifted and has been given an apology. The Trust said that it did not have the authority to exclude Stuart Gardner, who works for West Midlands Ambulance Service, from its premises. He criticised care at Worcester Royal Hospital A&E unit. The Trust and the union Unison said the matter had been resolved amicably. Meanwhile, the Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital NHS Trust needs to improve its quality of care. That's according to the Care Quality Commission. The Trust has consistently failed to meet its target of treating 95% of patients in A&E within 4 hours. And it's been told it needs to improve levels of nursing staff in A&E. It was praised for a number of areas, however, including its safeguarding procedures. A report to determine if the Olympic-sized swimming pool at Coventry Sports and Leisure Centre can stay has been delayed. The Amateur Swimming Association has opted for more time to decide whether the city can build a 50-metre pool elsewhere. The existing Olympic-sized pool at Coventry will close in 2019. A Thomas Cook flight bound for Birmingham was forced to make an emergency landing in Portugal after a pensioner from Rowley Regis fell ill when she was hit on the head by a falling shoe. Hilda Holland was returning from a holiday in the Canaries. The plane's captain diverted to Lisbon and she was taken to hospital, accompanied by her husband, who says he feared for her life. Callum Watkinson has the story.
Well, we won't fly again.
Hilda and John Holland love to travel, but say from now on they'll go by boat.
And we'll sail from Southampton.
On a flight back from Fuerteventura earlier this month, a shoe fell from an overhead locker and hit 79-year-old Hilda on the head.
I was just sitting there, relaxing, and all of a sudden I had this bump on my head, and from the top to in the neck. And I looked down, saw a shoe, and I couldn't speak. I was stunned. And a lady came, said sorry, and that was it.
As two off-duty nurses tried to help, the captain of the Thomas Cook flight to Birmingham made an emergency diversion. Soon after, the Hollands were in Portugal and on their way to hospital in Lisbon.
The wife says to me, that did hurt. And I said, it looked like it. I knew it wasn't heavy, but it come from a good height. And then 10 minutes later, I looked and she was just shaking, and I was terrified. I thought, I'll tell the truth, I thought I'd lost her. But because she was that white, and I'd never seen her like that before, because she's never ill. And it was really a shock, and I was just shaking, and the stewardess gave me a drop of water, and they kept rubbing my shoulder and her arm around me, and I thought, and then I was just concerned.
John has criticised Thomas Cook, saying there's been no apology. In a statement, the travel company said, "Our operations control centre contacted Mr. and Mrs. Holland at the hospital and offered assistance within a few hours of their arrival. Our welfare team have been in touch with the Hollands following their return, and we hope Mrs. Holland makes a full recovery." A short stay in the Portuguese hospital revealed no serious problems, and the Hollands arrived in Birmingham the following day aboard another flight. But in a house full of holiday memories, this may be one trip they'd rather forget. Callum Watkinson, ITV News.
The demolition of Leicester's 40-year-old indoor market has begun. It closed in May and was replaced by a new £3.5 million food hall. The old indoor market will make way for a new public square. The demolition and removal of tons of rubble is expected to be completed by August. And finally, a new device to warn motorists that a cyclist is approaching is being worked on by a team of researchers from Coventry-based Jaguar Land Rover. Bike Sense will tap the driver on the shoulder and ring a bell inside the car. Almost 19,000 cyclists are killed or injured in the United Kingdom every year. Now let's get the weather forecast with the details. Here's Lucy.
What's in store for today? ITV Local Weather, sponsored by Centre Parks. Hello, well it's all about the snow tonight. We're seeing 2 centimetres at lower levels, potentially 10 centimetres up on the hills of the Staffordshire moorlands, and then wintry showers to come through the day tomorrow. You can track the rain here that's turning to snow as it hits the colder air in our region, and it's spreading eastwards as you can see. Through tomorrow night it's gradually going to ease. So then temperatures tonight, freezing or just below in many locations. So ice an issue by tomorrow morning. And then the wintry showers, a mixture of rain, sleet and snow, will continue on and off through the day tomorrow. Bye for now.
ITV Local Weather, sponsored by Centre Parks.
That's it from us for tonight. As always, there are further updates and more details on our stories online, itv.com/central. For now, though, from the late team, good night.